Okay, so this job is done, but I wanted to document this a little bit. How the column works in a Promaster. This would apply to 14 through 19, really? I know 14 through 18 are all identical. Anyway, as you can see, I got the whole column apart. Not difficult. These are the pieces to it. We got 4 pieces and some Allen screws. Not rocket science. What had happened with this one is that the key mechanism, which is this, theoretically, that's called the lock cylinder, and the rest is called the ignition switch. And what happened was it wouldn't release the key, but it also was not working correctly, and it also didn't have any spring. You know, when you go to crank, it springs back and it's got detents, and so that was all screwed up in the old one. The way this was fixed, it's a long story, and a long and horrible story. Towed it to the dealer. They sat on it for 6 days and charged me $1,100, and it was still broken. In the meantime, once I got it back home, I bought this at a junkyard for $35 and did it myself in about an hour. Thanks a lot, dealership. Thanks for costing me $1,500 of lost work for a week, plus another $900 for hotel rooms for the driver. Very, very frustrating. Nonetheless, it's hard to see what's going on here. This cylindrical thing is the key release, and this is a mechanical override. If you pull this out, it will mechanically turn it here, it will release the key. This is a little solenoid that fires when the vehicle's in park or neutral, so you can remove the key. When it's in drive or whatever, it captures the key, so you can't. 2 connectors back here. This ring, this little plastic ring, is actually the sensor ring. You can see the wire coming from it. That senses the key fob. There's a transmitter in the normal remote, along with in the valet key. There's also a chip that this can read. Very simple part. As I say, this entire assembly was $35 from a junkyard. Piece of cake. It's interesting, with the dash disassembled, it's actually kind of useful. If I was driving this one, I might leave it disassembled, because look at all this room down here. You could put something in there. But that whole lock cylinder assembly, here's the mechanical release I was telling you about. When it's engaged, it's in, you pull it, but you can also unplug it back here and defeat it. I don't know why you'd want to, but you could. This whole lock cylinder assembly looks like that. The dealer charges $300 for this, but it includes the sensor and this piece and the whole thing. 2 bolts hold it on here. These bolts are special because they do not have heads. They're designed to be difficult to take out so somebody can't steal it. But what you have to do is worry at this bolt and one on the top with a vice grip or whatever. And then what I did is I used a grinder and I cut a slot. So if I ever need to take this off again, I can just use a screwdriver. The rest of it is, the way I made this work is that the lock cylinder itself was fine. It was the mechanism inside here that was broken. So you can remove the lock cylinder. When I bought this, it came with a key, and I used that key, but I attached the key to the other transmitter. You can actually swap keys and transmitters if you need to, because you see that little dowel pin there? You drive that out with a drift, and you can put this metal piece on another fob assembly. So right now I have it where this is the key that came with the lock cylinder. This is the transmitter for the van. The other transmitter I have will work the doors, but not the ignition lock, and so now there's a different key for the doors and the rear door as well. There's 3 lock cylinders on the Promaster: the ignition, the driver's side door, and the rear door. So now we have 2 keys. Okay, I'll solve that problem at some point, and I also need to figure out how to make a duplicate of this, because I have a transmitter and I have the right key, but I need to duplicate that. And it gets all complicated. Anyway, that's what it looks like with the column apart, and I'm about to put that back together. But pretty simple stuff. There's no reason to be afraid of the Promaster. Yes, it's Fiat, but it's actually, I don't know where they got their reputation, but it's good stuff. If you take this thing apart, or rather if you take the lock cylinder out, it actually says Lancia on it, which is exciting. All right, that's 4 minutes of a waste of your time. Carry on.